हमने खास बातचीत की एडमिरल आर हरि कुमार से, द चीफ ऑफ नेवल स्टाफ, और उनके साथ उनकी फर्स्ट लेडी ऑफ नेवी कला हरि कुमार के साथ, जो प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ नवा भी हैं। हमने उनसे खास बातचीत की नेवी के फ्यूचर के बारे में, नवा क्या क्या नए इनिशिएटिव्स कर रहा है आर्मी नेवी वाइव्स के लिए या फिर फोर्सेस के लिए, बेटरमेंट के लिए, उनके बच्चों के एजुकेशन के लिए। बहुत होलसम कॉन्वर्सेशन रही। आइए देखते हैं उनसे हमारी खास बातचीत। Namaskar. In the realm of naval leadership, where strategic vision, unwavering commitment to your service meets the vastness of the open seas, we find Admiral R. Hari Kumar, our esteemed Chief of Naval Staff, whose career is marked with valor, leadership, and unyielding dedication towards his service in safeguarding the maritime interest of our nation. We are deeply honored that he is here with us for a brief interaction, and we are joyous because he is joined by his accomplished and admirable wife, Mrs. Kala Hari Kumar, whose unwavering support has played an important role in Chief's extraordinary journey. A very warm welcome, sir, ma'am. Sir, I would like to begin that you have already completed 2 years in office. How has this journey been? Please share some key highlights of your tenure.
It's been a very satisfying and very exciting 2 years, I would say. It's been a year of transformation. It's been a year when, a couple of years when we have really worked to ensure that the Navy, it keeps moving ahead in time, in line with the changing times. And I'm very happy to say that the Navy has been able to fulfill its role of being a service that protects, preserves, promotes, and pursues the national interests in the maritime domain wherever they may lie. Over the last 2 years, there have been many important milestones that have happened in the Bharatiya Nausena. I would say one of the key things was the commissioning of our aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, indigenous aircraft carrier, and we operationalized that carrier in a short span of a few months after that, with the indigenous aircraft landing and being launched from the carrier, as well as completing the initial operational clearance of this ship. We had a Swavilamban seminar being organized for promoting indigenization. Large number of challenges were given, and by the second year, when we had the second version of Swavilamban seminar this year, we had more than 100 products or technologies being demonstrated and contracts being signed for taking forward the Atmanirbhar philosophy and trying to be self-reliant as a service. Similarly, we have been commissioning the Kalvari class submarines. We have been launching a number of ships of the ASW shallow watercraft, of the Project 17 Alphas, and so on. So there has been a fair amount of capability development that has happened. Indigenized weapon systems have been inducted into service. Modernization has been given a great thrust, and so on. So when I look back, I find a lot of transformation has been progressed, and this is added to the capability of the force. And we see ourselves as a combat-ready, credible, cohesive, and future-proof force with focus on ordnance on target, and combat readiness being the essential requirement for a force like us. And the Navy has also been able to fulfill all the roles. Maritime force like the Navy normally has about 4 distinct roles, which is being ready for combat, then constabulary, diplomatic, and benign roles. So we have been able to progress all these roles and requirements as and when they arose. If you look back at the deployment of our ships, submarines and aircraft, we have had almost 17,000 ship days at sea by our ships, about 1,800 ship days by submarines, nearly 26,000 hours of flying effort by our aircraft. So all this shows that the Navy has been, deployed and making sure that the maritime domain remains safe and secure.
As Sir talked about transformation, ma'am, I'm sure in all these years, when you joined Navy fraternity as a young naval officer's wife, from then to now as a spouse of Chief of Naval Staff, there has been sea change. How all of these changes impacted you, and how have you changed as a person over the years?
Well, over the years, as the nation has progressed, the Indian Navy too has transformed into a credible, cohesive and future-proof Navy. This being the narrative, it was but natural that the human resource component of the Navy, consisting of officers, sailors and family members, also had to evolve to be in sync with this transformation. The naval life that I experienced as a young Navy wife to the Navy of the present day has evolved a lot. Life in the Navy is very dynamic and one always needs to be ready to adapt.
Ma'am, everybody has some inherent personality traits. What are those personality traits which you used to develop this and come to this leadership position you are in today?
Well, I have gained valuable perspective at each stage of my life as a naval spouse. This gave me a better grasp on tackling the day-to-day challenges which our families encounter. It was very important for me to focus on goals and prioritize the work done within our welfare organization. But to achieve these kind of goals requires collaboration with others. Therefore, I had the most vital duty as the team leader to recognize and acknowledge the strengths of my team, of the team of motivated volunteers, which helped me in better decision making. Of course, empathy, inclusion are all imperatives which I've always believed in. I constantly strive to keep a lookout on improvement. I stay connected with the junior most members of my organization, which gives me a sense of what they need, and this marks the foundation of many new initiatives.
How beautifully put. So, we have heard that you've spoken about Atmanirbhar Navy by 2047. So, this vision and what do you think that the planning would be to achieve this?
Well, we are completely aligned with the government directives for Atmanirbharta. So, we as a Navy are given a commitment to our national leadership that we will be a fully Atmanirbhar Navy force by 2047, which is going to be the 100 years of our independence, and we have been working towards that. As of now, out of 67 ships which are under construction, 65 are being built in Indian shipyards as for a start. And also in any ship construction, there are three elements which are basically the float component, the move component and the fight component. So in the float and in the move component, we are we are quite comfortable in the sense in the float component we are almost 95% indigenous. In the move component we are probably around 60-65% indigenous. We require to get some the propulsion systems going. But it is in the fight component where there's probably a challenge. We are at about 50% or 55% there, and which means that we need to work on indigenous weapons, indigenous sensors, indigenous AIO systems, and so on, and sensors and all these things. So that is where now our thrust is, and we are quite confident that in the years ahead we'll be able to reach that target. So for this we have taken a number of steps. If you see, we have introduced something called the NIIO, which is the Naval Indigenization and Innovation Organization. We have a technology development and acceleration cell. We are completely engaged with the IDEX or the Innovation for Defence Excellence scheme of the Ministry of Defence. And our Swavilamban seminars have actually been worked out, in sync with all these small agencies and organizations, in sync with them, so that we nurture the spirit of innovation and indigenization among our entrepreneurs or MSMEs, startups, and so on. So we also have something called the Sprint, which is an endeavor. If you expand, it's an acronym for supporting pole vaulting in R&D through IDEX, NIAO, and TDAC. So we are doing a very concentrated effort to ensure that we achieve success in indigenization. So I am quite confident that we'll achieve what we have set out to by 2047 or probably even earlier.
Certainly, probably we'll do it even earlier. While growing up, I think every Indian at one point in time think about joining forces at one point in time. What are the different HR initiatives Navy is taking, including Agnipath scheme?
Navy has taken a lot of schemes to bring in greater transparency, greater motivation and greater inspiration for our people, both in service as well as to attract the average youth to try and aspire to be part of the Navy. So it is very important for us as a service to ensure that our personnel are, remain motivated and inspired and, and committed to the service. So both internally as well as externally, we have, made a number of efforts. So first I'll talk of the external effort. In terms, we have made outreach programs to various parts of our country. Like, for example, we have made outreach to the Northeast, we have made outreach to Leh Ladakh region, and various other parts like Rajasthan and Gujarat and so on, to spread the message as to what the maritime domain is all about, what the Navy does, and the maritime consciousness, maritime thought, these sort of things, to inspire, to awaken the maritime Indian in every youth, so that they know what the ocean is about, and then what the Navy does, and to sort of sell the Navy to them, to that it's a good service where you can join. And today, if you look at the Navy, it's a very modern and very technology-oriented force, I would say. Now, the Agnipath scheme has been a great game changer for us. We have tried to harness the demographic dividend which our nation is enjoying now, and which is going to continue for the next 40-50 years. So there are a lot of advantages that we have got from this Agnipath scheme. The aim has also been to have to strengthen our linkages between the military and the civil society, so that every citizen should know as to what the armed forces does. So when the aim has been, as directed by our national leadership, that we should have Agni Veer from every village, if possible, if not a village, at least from each block. So we have more than 7,500 blocks. So our aim has been to try and get from each block. So we have now had 3 Agni Veer batches being inducted, and we stand somewhere around 55% of the blocks are represented as of now. Our aim is that in another couple of years, we should be able to have 1 Agni Veer at least from every block, and then subsequently 1 from every village. So that means that every village will know what it means, what the armed forces do, and what it means to be a soldier, and what is the job he does, and how he contributes to the service of the nation.
Forces come really close to the common man, Right. Ma'am, speaking of, common man, and you have been the president of Naval, and you have done some path-breaking stuff here as well. If I am, curious to know about the journey of Naval, and how do you see, what is your vision for your organization?
So Naval's journey started in 1948, and for the past 75 years, it's continued to make headway and adapt to the changing times. As Naval President, I have made a conscious effort to ensure that the organization gets more visibility. As a result, more companies have come forward to aid the different initiatives of Naval, both within the naval community as well as our outreach programs. Expanding our contacts has opened doors to new opportunities for education and career advancement of our children and spouses. After all, one has to give back to one's own community, which has been an integral part of one's life for so many years. It actually doesn't matter whether big or small. Each act of giving back becomes a building block for a stronger and self-reliant and a contented community, which is what I aspire for my organization. I also believe contribution to our community is not just a responsibility, it's a heartbeat of shared purpose, a melody composed by each individual's notes of kindness, support and commitment.
How beautifully put, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Well, sir, speaking of, women's role in Navy, what do you think? You've spoken about, including more and more women officers, increasing, women workforce in Navy. Kindly elaborate on that.
Yeah, when Navy, one of the first services to induct women, we started the induction of women officers in 1993. Of course, they were restricted to a few branches of the officers' cadre, like as education, logistics, this air traffic control and so on. But then subsequently in 2008 it was opened for the air operations officers, and in 2016 we looked at having women pilots, and then in 2021 we had the NDA being opened for for women cadets and so on. So in the Navy we took a decision that we will open the Navy, both the ranks as well as the officers, for women as well. So as per the Agnipath scheme, we have opened it for the women with equal chances for joining all cadres of in the ranks. And at the same time, we have also opened the officer cadre, all branches of the officer cadre for women. So I would say my tagline or the mantra that we use is all roles, all ranks for women. So there is nothing that is now denied to anyone. But they have to have the capability, they have to have the commitment, and they have to have the competence. So when we look at as an officer or sailor, we do not look at we look at it in a gender neutral manner, so that we look at whether the person is capable of meeting the task and accomplishing what the Navy requires of him.
Ma'am, recently we have heard that you have, on behalf of Naval, signed a MOU with various universities across the country, and that shows that how much importance you give to education when we talk about fraternity or children of naval officers. Why did you zero in on this initiative?
So I firmly believe that not everyone has equal abilities, but everyone should have equal opportunities for education. Securing various concessions and scholarships and access for the wards of our naval personnel in reputed educational institutions like SRM, Kalinga, Shiv Nadar, Flame, Karnavati, just to name a few, has been a very satisfying initiative for me. Let me also share with you the fact that a lot of hard work has gone behind the scenes. All of this requires a team to work tirelessly, and I must say that I am blessed to have a team that is driven and committed. I feel extremely content by the fact that in the coming years, a very large number of deserving children will benefit from these MOUs at very affordable rates.
Lovely. Well, sir, India is emerging as a global power. So how do you think, what is the future of Indian Navy like?
Well, the Indian Navy is, I would say, the largest resident navy in the Indian Ocean region. And we are a very balanced force which is charged with the responsibility of maintaining peace, security and stability in the Indian Ocean region. So we engage with all the our partners in the region, the friendly foreign countries. We engage with them. There is a lot of interaction, a lot of training, bilateral exercises, multilateral exercises that we do, and we assist them in capacity building, in capability development. So a lot of activities take place in the region. We engage with them so that over a period of time we build trust, and the challenges, most of the challenges I would say are transnational. They are not just in the ocean. The oceans are not a dividing force; are a uniting medium. And the challenges in the ocean really don't just stop with any one country. I would call them as problems without passports, because they move from one region to another. So therefore, there is a lot of interest in cooperation and coordination of activities, etc. So we work along with our partners in this regard. And whenever there is a crisis, or there is a humanitarian disaster, or a technical problem at sea, or there is an accident, then or a medical emergency, the Indian Navy has always been there to respond and assist our partners in the region. And there are various fora for this, like we had the Goa Maritime Conclave, where the chiefs of navies and delegations had attended, and we had worked out what are the common challenges and the common priorities and so on. So we remain engaged, and we work together and try to be a preferred security partner for all our friendly foreign countries in the region.
Ma'am, Sir just mentioned about, engagement, and Naval, in order to engage its members, has recently conducted a car rally, which was a, fresh take on PM's vision of Nari Shakti se Rashtra Shakti. Kindly tell us something about that.
So the Coastal Car Rally was a venture led by our serving women officers, Naval volunteers, and even women Agniveers who drove from Kolkata to Lakpat. The aim behind this was to awaken the maritime consciousness and encourage youngsters from every corner of the country to join the Indian Navy. Naval, as a part of this rally, also conducted various outreach programs at old age homes, orphanages, schools for special children, keeping in line with the ethos of community development and empowerment. So through these well-planned public engagements, Naval has been able to become a part of a larger community, and together we have definitely created a positive impact.
Ma'am, recently Naval has also opened many early intervention centers, which is again a very unique thing which has happened in your guidance. Kindly tell us something about that.
For a long time in the Navy, we always had Sankalp School for the differently abled children between 6 to 18 years of age, but somehow we missed on the kids below 6 years of age. Our early intervention centers under the name Chetna. Chetna stands for Comprehensive Health, Early Evaluation, Timely Action, Nurturing and Assistance. And our vision for Chetna is to create an ecosystem that can enable timely detection of developmental delays. We also make efforts to sensitize teachers and parents of kindergarten schools to be alert, to watch out for red flags. Today, we have close to 880 registrations at our early intervention centers across our commands, which shows the need of the hour. I feel fortunate to be part of this initiative, with which we are able to transform lives of our children and our naval personnel.
Ma'am, recently there was a lot of fervor of G20 and the G20 Think You competition was also held. What is your vision and motivation for doing this sort of initiative on behalf of Naval?
With India's G20 presidency, there is an immense amount of responsibility on all of us as the citizens of India to rise to the occasion in line with the theme Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. As our contribution at Naval, we conceptualized the Indian Navy quiz to reach out to the students from the G20 countries across the world. The first edition of the Indian Navy quiz, known as the Think You, was a national level quiz competition conducted last year with 6,400 plus schools registering. But this year, for the second edition, we had 11,700 schools in India registering for the nationals. We then took the quiz to a global and grander avatar, inviting children from 23 countries. It was an absolute privilege to host these young, brilliant minds across the globe, thereby connecting the bridges of friendship across the oceans. G20 Think You was a celebration of collective pursuit of excellence and healthy competition. It created amazing bonds beyond borders. These children could also experience Bharat as an emerging global leader and got an insight into our rich cultural heritage. The G20 Think You journey was possible only with the constant support and encouragement which we received from the G20 Secretariat.
Well, it's certainly a wonderful initiative, ma'am. And lastly, sir, on the day of Naval Day, what would you like to give out as a message to the citizens and the whole Navy force?
I think first of all I would like to say that on the occasion of the Navy Day, the Navy remains stood to in the naval parlance to protect, preserve, promote and pursue our national interests in the maritime domain. We are thankful to our veterans for their foresight, for the sacrifice, for all the hard work and planning they had done for the Navy to have evolved today into what it is, a modern blue water force which is combat ready, credible, cohesive and future proof. We acknowledge the sacrifices made by our predecessors, especially those who made the supreme sacrifice, in the course of their duty. We are also sanguine that we remain aligned with the Government of India initiatives, be it the Panch Pran of the Honorable Prime Minister or the Perform, Reform, Transform motto. So the service is constantly looking at ways to evolve, to transform itself and remain completely aligned and in tune with the developments that are happening all around. We are seized of the changing character of war. We are monitoring the developments that are happening in the conflicts in various parts of the world, the new technologies that is being used, the niche technologies that are being brought in, etc. So, as a learning institution, we are looking at all these changes and adapting, absorbing all these changes so that we remain future-proof, and our primary task of being combat ready and being able to deter our adversaries in case of of a conflict, and to win it in case a conflict finally emerges, remains our main focus. And towards that, I want to assure our citizens that the Bharatiya Nausena is fully ready and stood to ensure that the nation's interests in the maritime domain are always protected.
Well, thank you so much, sir, ma'am, for this insightful conversation. We have nothing but gratitude and a feeling of pride to give to you. Thank you for speaking to us. Namaskar.